Hey, what is going on, everybody? Aaron here from Break the Internet. Welcome back to another Snapchat video today on the channel. Today, guys, we're going to be taking a look at episode number 3 of Talking with Snappers. Now, if you're new to this series, basically a mini interview series where I bring different Snapchat influencers, storytellers, and some of my really good friends that I've met on Snapchat, bring them in, interview them, and talk to them not only about how they started on Snapchat, but also how some of them actually been able to turn Snapchat, this app where we take pictures and videos on our phone, into a full-time job. It's crazy to think that that's even possible. So anyway, guys, without further ado, we're going to be interviewing today, episode number 3. Like I said, Rhodes411, a really good friend of mine, and all his information, snap codes are right here. If you want to go ahead and pause the video and add him right now, go ahead and do so, but we're going to get right into the interview. All right, ladies and gentlemen, so we're jumping in the Skype interview here. In the interview seat is Rhodes411. All of his information before we get into it's going to be all over the screen. So there and there and there and there and there and in the description below. But this is, like I said, Rhodes411, my dynamic duo, brother from another mother. We ran around South by Southwest in Austin, Texas, making stories in New York City. Yep. So much stuff. Just tell the audience a little bit about yourself and what you do on Snapchat.
Sounds good. In terms of Snapchat, I would say my style is kind of a mix of comedy and storytelling and adventures and cool stuff and behind the scenes and whatnot. And I try to kind of tell it in, I try to do storytelling in a bit of a funny way, but also try to kind of make it a cool, interesting way to watch it. So, like I said, comedy, adventures, storytelling, fun stuff, cool stuff, the whole shebang. Okay.
So just kind of talking about social media and all this other stuff, I understand that your background is mostly with Twitter. So kind of give us a little maybe background of Twitter, like what was your first experiences with Twitter and what got that all started?
Well, I essentially, I first joined Twitter back in 2011. I created a personal account for myself and started kind of just doing funny tweets and whatnot, trying to build up a bit of a following there. And then as I was growing a bit, I decided to make another account. I actually created a parody account. And from there, that one started to kind of get some traction. So I said, okay, well, maybe I'll make another account. And I kind of started expanding, and kind of over time building more and more accounts and whatnot, and finding different ways and different techniques to kind of get better exposure and all that kind of stuff. I started getting a lot of traction with all that, and now I'm at around 10 accounts right now with about 8 million followers across those accounts. So that's kind of where I kind of got my whole foothold in the social media game, I guess you could say. And then from there, I was, I've expanded, to Instagram and Vine and Snap, and well, obviously Snapchat and stuff like that as well. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of been it's been what I've been doing for a living for the last 4 or 5 years now.
And that's crazy. I kind of like off the note. Rhodes and I were actually featured in a CNBC article. We were invited to the CNBC headquarters in New Jersey when we were over in New York. Yeah. And they pretty much talked to us about just kind of newer age, like not going to college and being able to make social media jobs. So that's kind of along the lines of, I guess, what we're talking about today. Yeah. Also, I know when we were in South by Southwest, we talked about it a little bit. And when I took your phone and like was able to see some of those Twitter accounts, don't give us like every single one, but maybe like give us maybe 1 or 2 of the Twitter accounts that you run that someone might know of if just going through Twitter.
Okay, well, without disclosing too many, I guess, I mean, there's Wow Facts of Life, there's Sex Facts of Life, there's Not Will Ferrell, there's Wow Pics of Life. There's a whole bunch of different niches, different things, a mix of kind of comedy stuff and fact stuff and like female relatable stuff, travel and food, and it kind of really diversified in terms of kind of getting all different types of accounts. That way I can kind of hit different demographics, and for advertising purposes, obviously have more diversity in that sense. So that was kind of the idea.
Awesome. So we were talking about Twitter, obviously Break the Internet, Snapchat related YouTube channel. I try to get this kind of answer from a lot of the people that I have on the interviews. I mean, considering you're only the third person, but tell me a little bit about your first experiences with Snapchat. Like, how did you get into Snapchat? Who told you about it? Like, what was your whole intention first getting into Snapchat, and what did you want to use it for?
Well, when I first kind of found out what Snapchat was, I was shooting Vines with a bunch of Viners. We were at the Playboy Mansion, oddly enough, and it was there, and Logan Paul and Amanda Cerny were both using this thing called Snapchat. This is a couple years ago, using this thing called Snapchat. And I was kind of like, okay, well, I guess, is this a new app? I guess I don't know. Then a few months later, I looked into it myself, and I was kind of like, okay, this could work. This makes sense, And for me, like as a content creator, like I'm on Vine. I don't Vine as much as I used to. I used to do a lot of Vines, but not so much anymore. But in terms of as a content creation standpoint, like I find that Snapchat allows for so much more creativity in the sense of you can kind of create an entire story out of it. You don't have to really second guess as much in terms of what you're putting out there. I mean,
Exactly.
like with a Vine, for example, you're putting out one every week, maybe at the most. Whereas with Snapchat, you can do multiple things a day, multiple stories, all that kind of stuff. And you can kind of get really creative with all the filters and all the different things. So I find from content creation that I've kind of really just kind of put everything into Snapchat for myself from a personal side. I pretty much shoot everything in Snapchat, and then I'll share it elsewhere, but I shoot it all in Snapchat and kind of go from there. So for me, it's kind of it's been a real. I mean, it's my favorite app for sure, and it's one of the things that like I said, from a content creation standpoint, it's like the ideal app for me to use. Yeah.
So this isn't, I mean, we have like a couple things that we're kind of sticking to as far as the interview goes, but I wanted to pick your brain a little bit about a little bit of example. If people aren't following us on Snapchat, we were making lots of stories in New York and we were putting so much time into this. So we're talking about the content creation and the, like how Vine, you only put once a week. We were doing this stuff and we're putting out stuff once a day, but talk about like, why do you think it's like possible, and what do you see the value in making these stories that last like a minute and a half that delete themselves in 24 hours? But I mean, like we said, I mean, our stories were taking like 6 hours to make and then they were gone. So what's your motivation behind making the stories and like putting so much time behind it, even though they're going to disappear?
Well, I think I mean the great thing about Snapchat as well is one thing is that they don't really. I mean, there's no comments, there's no likes, nothing like that. So I mean, I think you feel more willing to put things out there, even though if you're kind of unsure of, okay, is this funny? I mean, you could spend like hours watching the same thing you just recorded and saying, is this good? You know what I mean? Like, should I post this or should I not? Whereas with Snapchat, you can kind of just freely, like I'm going to put it out there and hopefully people like it, and that's kind of that. So I mean. In that sense, I find from the actual putting out, I mean, because content is king. I mean, the more content you put out, the better. I mean, I find that if you spend too much time second guessing what you want to put out and you don't do it, all you do is hold yourself back every time, right? So, I find from terms of that tool, like in terms of creation like that, I find it's ideal.
Okay. So kind of talking about content and talking about Snapchat and for this is kind of a question that might help a little bit of the people that are just getting into Snapchat and possibly thinking about growing an audience or nurturing an audience or whatever it may be. So give us like a couple of tips maybe that you have and what people should do, what like I guess practices they should use when they're first getting into Snapchat, not only first getting into Snapchat, but also let's just say they're trying to create for an audience. What do you find is the best practices for that? So what, not only like the tips, but also what is it like creating for the audience that you have right now?
Yeah, I mean, well, first and foremost, vertical, always vertical. But someone does a Snapchat sideways, I'm like, oh God, it's the worst thing to watch.
Stop it.
Yes, stop it. Just stop. Yeah. So I mean, above all else, that's like the cardinal rule. Outside of that, I mean, it's kind of really up to your own creativity. I mean, there's not really any do's and don'ts necessarily because everyone has their own style in terms of how they want to do it. I mean, for me, like my style, I mean, as you've seen as well, because we've done stuff together as well as, I like to do a lot of transitions, a lot of kind of smooth ways from each snap to kind of make it flow. Use a lot of like, little tricks like teleporting, like kind of appearing here and there and, kind of between shots and whatnot, making it all connect. That's kind of the style I like to use. But I mean, that doesn't mean it's right or wrong either. I think kind of the good thing about Snapchat as well is that anyone can kind of create anything in any way they want. So in terms of, I guess, tips on what people should be doing, I mean, find what works for you. I mean, I would say play around with different ideas. I mean, like we've all done it as well, you and myself, where it's kind of like you'll try a new type of story and you'll see how it plays out, maybe see what kind of reactions people give you and what the responses are. And then maybe you'll do it again, or maybe you won't do it again. You'll try something new. So, I mean, that's the cool thing is you can play with it so much on Snapchat. There's so much you can actually like do in terms of the different styles and approaches you can take to the content. So, I mean, it's kind of the world's your oyster when it comes to that.
And as far as like the audience, like how is it creating, like when you're creating your content, how is it creating it for an audience? Like as far as like getting like people that send you messages and I guess pictures and videos and stuff, like what is it like receiving like the feedback and kind of, and knowing that you have this audience to kind of entertain, like how does that make it different from someone that might just like have no followers and then just kind of compare it to like what you do?
Well,
Does that make sense?
It can be overwhelming sometimes, but in a good way and a bad way, I guess. I mean, in one sense, in the bad way, it's kind of like, there's a lot of pressure. It's almost like, every day you feel like you have to do something. You have to post something. You have to do, because people start to, rely on you for like daily content. I mean, because with Snapchat, it is kind of a daily thing. People are checking constantly all the time, all the time, all the time. But now, I mean, creating for an audience on the flip side, when you have a lot of people watching your stories, it's great having that kind of interaction with your audience. You know, like they'll send you a snap and say, "Hey, I loved this," or "That was awesome," or "That was great." You know, all that kind of stuff. And I find that Snapchat is a very, very positive community. You know, like any other thing you're on where people can actually leave comments, stuff like that. It's always, there's so much hate, so much negativity. You know? Whereas I find with Snapchat, like I rarely, if ever, get a negative snap from someone saying, "Hey, you suck," or that was whatever.
I mean, they have to. It's almost the trolls have to go out of their way to like either send you like a chat or whatever. And for us, I mean, not saying we're super famous or anything, but sometimes like our messages kind of get overflowed to where we don't see them. So getting that one negative comment and versus those like 10, like it almost gets overtaken. So I completely agree with you. Like just the overall positivity in the community. I mean, all these people that we're meeting, like Snapchat storytellers and all those guys, like I haven't met someone that I don't like. If that makes sense. And like as far as the community goes, I mean that's a whole nother interview, whole nother podcast.
Our whole little Snapchat crew is pretty awesome. And I mean like like it's such a positive environment, you know, and I hope it stays that way, obviously. But I mean, like I said, because of the fact that it's so much harder for trolls, they have to go out of their way to try and like put you down, you know, whereas it's so I mean, I find that everyone's responses are always positive, which makes it a lot better when you're trying to create stories on a daily basis, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So kind of speaking along the lines of content creation, all that stuff, how would you like maybe just give a couple of tips? I know a lot of people have different ways of doing this, but maybe some tips and tricks on how you have grown your following and maybe someone that's just getting to the app. What do you think they should be doing to grow their following and maintain their audience?
Well, I think one thing that's important. I know some people preach against this, but I'm actually all for it. I mean, if you have good content that you've created on Snapchat, share it elsewhere. You know, share it on different social platforms and have other people see. Because I mean, people that aren't on Snapchat, how are they going to see, or that aren't following you, how are they going to see what you produce, right? So I mean, I have no qualms with taking things that I've created on Snapchat and posting it on Twitter, for example, or posting it on Instagram or whatever it may be. Because then people will see it and say, "Oh, that's pretty funny, or that's pretty cool. This guy must be good on Snapchat. I'll go follow them." You know. So I think that's a really important thing is really kind of going cross-platform. The conversion rate obviously on cross-platform promotion is really low, but at the same time, it's one of the best ways to kind of get people to find you in a way. You know, it's kind of to get people to see your stuff. And then of course there are discovery tools and whatnot now, like as we've been using ghost codes and whatnot, and the 11-second and Snapchat directory and all those other ones. But there's different ways for people to find other followers and people to follow and all that kind of stuff. But I think honestly, it's a matter of really pushing your content and sharing it across anywhere you can share it. It's the best way to kind of get people to kind of notice your Snapchatting skills. Yeah.
And then once they gain a little bit more of a following, what's some things that you think that they should do to maintain the audience that they have and keep them engaged and interested in their content?
Well, I think, I mean, most importantly, you don't want to start steering too far from what people followed you for. You know, if people follow you because you tell funny jokes, and all of a sudden, like, you're doing nothing but fashion posts, you know, it doesn't really correlate, right? So people that followed you before, you're like, well, this isn't good anymore. Like, you used to do comedy. So, I mean, I think it's a matter of kind of knowing what your audience expects from you and kind of sticking to that and finding ways to kind of branch from that, but along the same lines. If you're not veering too far off from what people expect, you're kind of still in the same realm of what you do. Just find creative ways to kind of portray it in different ways, essentially. But I mean, you should definitely stick to what people are expecting.
I completely agree, because I know for me, like, there's specific things that people have followed me for, like, let's say Snapchat Idol or like my Snapchat music videos, stuff like that. They're always, the ones that follow me because of that are always asking for that. And I don't always like put it out like every single week or every like couple of days. So you have a couple of those followers that are like, where's Snapchat Idol, or where's this, or where's that? So I completely understand where you're coming from with that. Last question for you, Rhodes411. I give this question to everyone that comes on the show. I want one super master amazing Snapchat tip that if someone was to watch this and they were just only to take away that one tip, what would it be?
Oh boy. In terms of like using it, like in terms of like a trick on the app, I guess, or like
anything. I mean, as far, it can be a trick, it can be something that they should be practicing while they're on Snapchat through the entirety. Anything.
I'll do one of each. I'll do in terms of a little trick for the app. That's. I mean, I think a lot of people actually don't know this, but you can do. I mean, you obviously do, but you can do multiple filters, right? So I mean, if you're scrolling across on your filters and you go to, okay, I choose to use the temperature. But you also want to go black and white. So if you hold down on your screen and then swipe the second finger, you can go through again. And you can do about 3 or more filters. So people don't realize you can do more than just one.
Yeah.
So that's just one little random little trick.
Yeah, I've just people that I've talked to too. It's just like I always show them that. They're like, what?
Yeah, you can.
Their mind like explodes.
And then in terms of a tip, I would say honestly, if you're looking to be a storyteller on Snapchat, then always try to find a way to have like an intro and an outro. Like you want to kind of have it all go together. You don't want it to seem like it's just too scattered. I mean, if you're just like doing random snaps throughout the day, sure, whatever, no big deal. But if you're looking to actually create a story of, okay, I'm going to go do this adventure today, and here's here's what we're going to do, and here's blah blah blah. I think do your best to try and, like I said, hey guys, like here's what we're doing today, and at the end, hey, you know what, this was awesome, thanks for joining, blah blah blah, hope you had fun, and it kind of intro and closer, and that's it. That way people know that, okay, that was the full story. So that's just one little tip I would give to people who want to be Snapchat storytellers.
Yeah, and I completely agree. I mean, we're talking about being a Snapchat storyteller, and a story has a beginning, a middle, and end. So having it starting like the adventure days that we're doing. I always, when we're in New York, I would do the adventure day. This is adventure day number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the adventures in between, and then we would have a good night snap, which were pretty creepy in New York. So but they were fun. They were funny. Anyway, Rhodes, I just wanted to go ahead and one more time just kind of open the floor up to you. I mean, I believe Rhodes411 is your social handle on pretty much everything that you have, but give everyone where they can find you on social media, as well as maybe anything that you're working on that you kind of want to give some exposure to.
Okay, I mean, should I be pointing? Are things going to pop up or no?
Not yet. I'll do the pointing.
Okay. Okay. So yeah, I mean, Twitter at Rhodes411, Instagram at Rhodes411, Snapchat at Rhodes4. I mean, everything is at Rhodes411. RHODES 411. You're going to show it anyway. I don't know why I spelled it, but yeah, definitely follow me on Snapchat to join the adventures, and then follow everything else if you're interested in more.
Sweet. So I just wanted to thank you one more time for coming on to the Break the Internet Talking with Snappers, and all his information is over on that side. Yeah, over there.
There?
That side, yep. So snap code, social media handles, all that good stuff. And then also, if you want to check out the previous or the next episode, obviously, if you're watching this when this comes out, there's not going to be a next episode. But if you're watching this before that, all that good stuff. So previous and next episode are going to be right up top. So anyway, one more time, thank you, Rhodes, for coming on here. Anyway, guys, of course, this is Break the Internet, your number one stop shop for Snapchat tips, tricks, updates, and everything you need to know about Snapchat. My name is AaronFPS, and this is Rhodes411.
Guys, thanks for having me.
And we hope you enjoy the rest of your day.